invite various candidates and politicians to come. So far, Mrs. Fulgenetti has come, and today we're very pleased to have Peter Boyce, who is running for office. And I will turn it over to him, and I will go slink in the back because you guys didn't sing, except for Mr. Malin.
More you need to
Scary thing is, I remember when that song came out. I was your age. We were dancing to that.
Did you know it was hate speech? Did you?
No, we didn't know it at the time. She candidate for state assembly. Actually, my niece is one of the students in the class. She's not here today. Stephanie.
Oh. Yeah, I had her a couple semesters ago.
Oh, a couple semesters ago.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm not your usual candidate. I'm what would be termed an activist, but the word activist is like very broad meaning. What I would be considered as a constitutional activist. Well, anyway, Jack is talking about different crises in America. Economic crises. A dollar's only worth pennies compared to what it used to buy. I remember 1957, I was 8 years old. My father had bought a brand new station wagon. I'm riding in the back of the station wagon. We pulled up to a gas pump, 27 cents a gallon. At that time, a quarter was real silver. It was basically a quarter ounce of silver, a quarter. Okay? Now, a gallon of gas, close to $4. How much is an ounce of silver? I don't know what the current
30.
48.
Even more. Okay, back when I first started telling this story, it was only about 12. So basically, a quarter ounce of silver and a gallon of gasoline are still a quarter ounce of silver and a gallon of gasoline. So what's the difference? What has changed? The silver hasn't changed, the gasoline hasn't changed. What's changed is the value of our money. This is the point he was making. Is that the economic crisis, the devaluation of the dollar is because the dollar is not backed by anything anymore. The Constitution is real clear. It says Congress shall coin money, meaning it's supposed to be gold and silver coin, not backed by printing presses where they just crank out as much money as they want. And the more they crank out, the less everything we have is worth. It's a way of stealing our money without our even knowing it. No matter where you have it locked away, it's being worth less and less and less and less every day. What about the energy crisis? At the height of the energy crisis of the 70s, which had wiped me out, we're importing 29% of our oil out of the Persian Gulf. Now, courtesy of the Department of Energy, we're importing, now it's 70%. How is it a federal Department of Energy that's supposed to be making American energy self-sufficient, when they began, we're at 29% importing out of unstable Persian Gulf, now it's over 70%. What's going on? And then he put it all together. He said, these things are not isolated crises. And I'm telling you things that you're not going to hear from anybody else. These things are not isolated crises, but they're intentionally being choreographed by powerful people in high places that have a specific agenda. And that agenda is to create such a state of crisis, chaos, and dependency in America that the American people will be willing to scrap their heritage, scrap the Declaration of Independence, scrap the Constitution, and be willing to be merged into a one-world socialist government of the United Nations. Now, it sounds just like words. If you don't understand where those words are coming from, what the meanings are, what's behind those words, and we'll start with the Declaration of Independence. That's, you might consider, the true amble of the Constitution. The second line of the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, no debate, that all men, black, white, red, yellow, green, all men are created, and women are created equal, endowed by their Creator, God. So there's acknowledgement, God. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Unalienable because they come from God, not from government that can take them away again. Among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Pursuit of happiness, there's debate. Originally it was life, liberty, and property, but they felt pursuit of happiness was more all-inclusive. It was more, not just in terms of acquiring property, but also business and so on. And that governments are instituted among men to secure these rights. So the whole purpose of the government is only protect our God-given rights. And other than that, they off our backs and out of our pockets. And they derive their just powers from the consent of the government. I mean, we the people are the authority. We get our right from God. We delegate some of that authority to form a government, or say our state governments. Our state governments then, in the Constitutional Convention, form our federal government. for the sole purpose of protecting our rights, and that's all. Not to micromanage our lives, our lands, our livelihoods, just protect our rights. And based on that simple premise, that the essence of freedom is the proper limitation of government, not no government, just that minimum amount of government to protect our rights, and otherwise leave us alone. Based on that simple premise, America became a light on a hill for the rest of the world. We produced more wealth and goods and services than all the other nations of the world combined throughout history. Not because we were smarter, not because we were more physically strong or had more abundant natural resources, only because we had the freedom to do it. That's why our state flag, look at our New Jersey state flag, it has the goddess of liberty and the goddess of prosperity. And that's not by accident, it's because the founders knew that prosperity follows liberty as surely as wet streets follow rain. You don't need government micromanaging to stimulate the economy, to create jobs. You just need government to back off. And people have the freedom, they'll produce the prosperity. There's no greater motivation to produce than if somebody knows that when they do work hard and they produce something, they're going to be able to keep what they produce for themselves, for their children, for their grandchildren. If they know whatever they produce is going to be taken away, where's the motivation? What's the goal of any business? To prosper, to expand, to grow, right? Well, isn't it convenient then to have a business where, one, you've got a monopoly. None of us can open up a competing state government. I mean, you get arrested, immediately. No competition. And no way you can take a loss, because if revenues get low, just raise taxes. You have a bottomless cash register that reaches into the pockets of all the people. That's convenient. And to expand government, the essence of freedom is the proper limitation of government. So someone goes into government, they don't have a clue about the Constitution, they don't care about the Constitution. Oh, that's just old, that's some guys a couple hundred years ago, what do they know? Times have changed. And they go into government with a mindset of, I'm qualified because I know about business. And they get in there and they start trying to run like a business. And right away it starts to expand. And the more it expands, it doesn't produce anything of its own. It's got to take from those that do produce. And therein it destroys the motivation. And the more laws they pass, the more regulations they pass, the more they have a stranglehold on small businesses. So everybody's talking about, oh, we need jobs. The economy is doing really bad. What do we do? The government's got to do something. What it's got to do is back off. It's got to back off. The more that government has a stranglehold on businesses, the more they can't expand. They don't have the money to expand. They have new inspectors coming every day, giving them all kinds of grief. I had a lady on a sawmill. I had a lady that has the horses in Cape May, the buggies. So she's got about 20 horses. The inspector from the DEP comes down and says, oh, horse manure now, this is a hazardous waste. But she's almost, it's funny, but she's almost in tears telling me this. She's got her life effort involved in this business. This is a hazardous waste. You've got to have special permits. You've got to remove this manure every week. You've got to have special permits for being able to haul it and so on. All this grief. She's not allowed to spray her horses anymore with a spray to keep the flies off the horses. She's got to have all kinds of special certifications and chemicals and equipment, masks and gloves and everything. Where somebody that has one horse can go to a Tractor Supply, buy a can of spray the horse, no problem, because she's a business, she's got to go through all these hoops. It's like $20,000 later, and they're still harassing her. And that's what we fought the British against. So it's just, so that's why I'm involved. As I saw 30 years ago the direction the country was going, and I realized I had been in business. And I was planning to, build up a sawmill business. This was my life's dream, get this going. If you took one unit of this and made it navigable and livable, you have an electric self-charging ship. See, that would be handy. Well, what's the point if the country goes down? I'm not in it. I'm not in it because I need something more to do in my life. I'm in it. I'll tell you my motivation. One day I'll stand before God and have to give an account of myself. And that's the fundamental problem with America, is we shifted off our moral foundation. That the guys that get elected, they're beholden to the party bosses, they're beholden to the media. They don't fear that one day that they're going to have to stand before God and give an account for that oath they swore in the Constitution, which they haven't read, don't understand, couldn't care about. they take it lightly. It's not lightly, it's people's lives. It's millions of lives at stake. Now here we are 100 years later. And if you ask virtually any high school, college graduate that went to a public institution, what form of government do we have here in America? What do they say? Democracy. What did you get a blank look? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic. But if you get 1 in 100 that says we're a republic, they didn't get it from the public school. Republic, derived from the Latin, res publica, res meaning thing, public meaning public. The public thing, the law of the land, U.S. Constitution. Designed not to control the people, but to control the government. Limit the government to very narrow, specific functions. Just protect our rights. That's all. Whereas a democracy sounds good on the surface. You know, will of the majority. But what if the majority wants to take your house away? Take your livelihood away, take your kids away. Ultimately, it ends up in tyranny. And ultimately, democracies bankrupt themselves because they run out of people that they can take money from. No, we're a republic, rule of law. So that gets us into the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's why I so boldly, starting right out here in this class, I right off told this joke about God sending his angels. I give you my personal testimony about God, how I came to Jesus Christ. Why would I dare do that in a public institution? Because there are men before me that gave their lives for me to have this right to speak. I didn't leave my First Amendment right at the door, or outside the building, or out before I pulled in the parking lot. No, I brought it with me. And unless I'm willing to stand up and fight for it, I don't have it, and you won't have it. So you have to get involved. Watch the video, get involved. So you can contact me if you want more information, right? Contact me, boyceyourvoice.com. Catchy, easy to remember. Got lots of information, need people to help. If I can get elected, I can make a difference. State legislators have an authority. State legislature is like Congress on the state level. But they've got authority that they don't know that they have. Just as in Congress, they've got authority they don't know that they have. In the state legislature, remember, the states, the people form the government, they form the state governments. State governments form the federal government. State government is superior to the federal government, not the other way around. And the people are superior to the state government. So state legislators have the authority under the 10th Amendment that all powers not specifically delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states or to the people, respectively. So they have that power to nullify unconstitutional federal legislation, like cap and trade, which totally put a vital stranglehold on American industry and business. State legislators, if they have the understanding and they have the backbone, can say to the federal government, no, that's rejected by the state of New Jersey. We're sending it back, unconstitutional, rejected by the people of New Jersey because it exceeds the authority delegated by the people of New Jersey to the federal government. Same with the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Send it back. Food Modernization Act was passed. Most people haven't heard of it. Food Modernization Act brings all locally produced food, backyard gardens, roadside vegetable stands, small farms, vitamin manufacturers, everything under federal regulations under the Department of Homeland Security in accordance with what's called Codex Alimentarius under the United Nations. It's a surrender of control of our own food supply.
They heard about it.
They heard about it, good. Good. Extremely, extremely dangerous thing. Now is the time to get involved politically. One, to understand the Constitution. If you don't have a copy of it, get a copy of it. Read it, study it, learn the Bill of Rights, try to memorize it. In the Constitution course I teach, we just graduated 150 constitutionalists in Cumberland, Salem, Gloucester counties. There are liberal politicians, worst nightmare. They have 150 constitutionalists running wild in their district. They won't get away with anything. Every unconstitutional vote they pass, people can be on. That's what it takes. If the people themselves have lost the understanding of our heritage, of what the limitations of government is supposed to be, what the proper criteria of a candidate is, what the proper functioning of a candidate is once he gets elected, they'll just run roughshod over us, and that's what's been happening. What's happening with the economy, the joblessness, the homelessness, the bankruptcies, the foreclosures, all that, that's the symptom. That's the symptom. That's not the problem. That's not the cause. The cause is the erosion of liberty